Okay, Kaspar, many things are happening around the world, always, but now this week specifically, we're going to talk macro today.
Yes, most of it, yeah.
Most of it. But let's start with some company news. As many weeks we talk about electrical cars, electrical vehicles, a lot of things happening, everybody's going electric. If you look outside, you can only see out of the 10 cars, only one is electric, but on the financial markets, everybody's talking about electrical cars. And this week we had Lucid. I think you mentioned it a couple of months ago. You had about it. They have quite an expensive car, $160,000 for that car. They have 10,000 reservations for that car. It's the Lucid Air. And they announced the stock price yesterday went down 18.5%. Why was that? Because they announced they're going to do a senior offering for a convertible bond of $1.75 billion. And the market didn't like that. At current, they have about $4 billion cash on hand. And that money is mainly coming from a blank check deal with Churchill Capital. And Churchill Capital is a SPAC, a special purpose acquisition company. So, and therefore, earlier this week, because they announced that blank check deal, the price also went down because the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, did not like that specific blank check deal. Staying in the electrical vehicles, Volkswagen, they announced...
I have one remark.
Don't get me out of my story.
No, it's only a
then
remark.
I get completely confused.
I hope. Did you see the documentary on Netflix about the DeLorean car?
No, I didn't. I saw it a few times, but I'm still watching Casa de Papel. So
it's also not. But have a look at it, because one of the things was about that story is that he said that he had so many subscribers to the cars, but that was air.
Really?
So, yeah. That's one of the things. But I'm not going to say anything about it. But I think the market learned from it. So they say they have already 10,000.
10,000, yeah.
That they already paid a certain amount and confirmed to it. I was thinking about it.
But that was with Tesla. It was the case, eh? Remember?
Yeah.
Like in, I think 2011, about 10 years ago, you went to this test drive.
Yeah.
And there was no Teslas for. You can only subscribe and pay
Yeah.
about some amount.
Yeah.
And they eventually started delivering.
Yeah.
So I think they have now 10,000.
I was thinking about it.
Yeah. Interesting. Volkswagen, they are preparing their battery unit for a partial sale, or a separate listing. So they want to do that into what they call a European company. It has a specific French name, Société Européenne or something like that. You can read about it. And Herbert Diess, the CEO, expects that the battery division on itself will generate sales of about 20 billion euros, which is quite substantial. Next to that, they've also announced that, even more important, they will invest 89 additional billion euros over the next 5 years in electric mobility and digitalization. And that money is partially coming from the developments that they were planning to do in hybrid cars. So you see that electricity with gas is completely disappearing. The disappearing,
gasoline,
gasoline in combination with hybrid cars.
Yeah.
So that is fading out. So interesting stuff in the electrical vehicle sector or area corner.
Yeah. Macro, I think.
Macro-wise.
Yeah, so we had, of course, you have every quarter the quarterly figures,
Yes.
and we take out the ones that we like or that you like.
Yeah.
But that season is over. It starts, of course, in January. So
Yeah.
you see not a lot of company information. It's more market. So the markets are more directed through important things that are happening in the world theater.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot about the COVID things, and I saw a lot of data. And one thing was really I was shocked by it, and that was that the positive thing. For example, 60% of the U.S. population is fully vaccinated. I think it's less than a lot of European countries.
Absolutely.
But if you look at the low-income countries all around the world, only 6%, a little bit more than 6%, is vaccinated for the first time.
Wow,
So we all in Europe, okay, we are that 80% is fully vaccinated, but there is a big risk, and unfortunately for those people, that was something that I wanted to highlight. China. China's in the news always. But and we mentioned, of course, from the beginning, Evergrande, they skipped a payment of 85. Evergrande is the biggest
real estate.
number 2 real estate company of China.
Yeah.
They have a debt of 300 billion. They skipped an interest payment, a foreign interest payment of 85 billion.
Million.
Billion.
3.
No, million. Million
Yeah,
interest payment.
million.
Million with an M, yeah. And also Kaisa, they skipped one of 400 million.
That's a little bit more.
And Fitch downgraded for the first time Evergrande to one level before default. Yeah. And so it's more interesting what is going to happen. That it's going the wrong direction, everybody will understand it. But what is China is going to do? And there was an official of the governor of the People's Bank. The People's Bank is the central bank of China, and that is Mr. Qi Gang. And he said yesterday in a conference, yesterday was Thursday, that it's why it's going wrong. It's because the management of those companies was not good. So that's a clear statement that he says, okay, it's not the infrastructure, it's not the country, it's those companies. And they said, okay, the market will solve it. And they also said for the midterm and the long term, this is not a problem for China. Clear statements. On the other hand, if you look at the local governments, the province of Guangdong, there is the headquarters of Evergrande is situated, and they are. That's the rumor that they are working for a help program.
Okay.
But officially, they don't do anything. But that statement is quite clear. On the other hand, the central bank said to their retail banks, you have from now on you can place less money on our balance with us, or you on your own balance, but you have to reserve that, and that automatically generated $188 billion for the market. So they see a problem, but they do it. They help on a different part, I think.
Yeah.
And I think also that's China, but keep an eye on it. And also now the discussion with China and mostly Biden about the Winter Olympics, and I think the UK is following the statement of the US.
The politicians, no?
Yeah.
They were not invited anyway.
Shall I make the bridge, or you want to say something about? You want to say something?
Yeah, I have a bridge about China.
Take the bridge.
I'll take the bridge. Okay. So the 19th of February, I spoke about rare earth metals, and at that time you could only buy them through if you had a professional retail, or like basically your status as an investor was qualified as being a professional. Now this ETF also has a listing in Germany, making it accessible for European retail investors. Not saying that you have to buy it, but just so you know. The price at the moment is $116. I'm referring to the dollar one because that's the one I talked about in February. At that time it was 75, so it almost gained 40 something US dollars. The highest point ever was $325 back in 2010, about 11 years ago. Why is it now interesting again? Because China announced that they are creating the largest company in the world for producing rare earth metals, and the company is called the China Rare Earth Group. And the objective of this is that they will be the company or the unit that fixes the prices for these specific rare earth metals. If you want to know more about it, check please the video of the 19th of February, because I explained there's 17 rare earth metals. They are very important for semiconductors, and they are very important for specific the magnetic function in batteries, like specifically now with all the electrical vehicles, and also the wind turbines and everything that has to do with also with solar panels. So it's a really important element for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. Those commodities are extremely important for what we are all planning to do to get the world to another stage of being environmentally friendly. And China is saying they are exporting 70% of this material, while the US is saying that's not true, that's only 45%. So yeah, they are also not agreeing on that point. Yeah. Interesting to follow this.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also, if I'm allowed to make a bridge back, it's about the gas. It's also about the pricing. And now the talkings, and I'm happy that it are talkings between Biden, Russia, Putin, and the Ukraine in the middle. Mm-hmm. Of course, I think you saw in the news that the military troops at the border from Russia with Ukraine from both sides are increasing. Mm-hmm. And yesterday I met somebody in the office. He knows a lot about Russia, and he said if you look at it from a satellite perspective, then you see that from a Russia side they're all together. So it's not that heavy as some people think. But it's again back to some materials and some pricings, because it's about gas. Of course, Europe needs gas for all kind of reasons, and they import it mainly from Russia. And there are three main pipelines. One of them is the Brotherhood pipeline, and that goes through the Ukraine. And Russia, in the north you have the Nord Stream 1 and you have the Nord Stream 2, and the Nord Stream 2 is ready but not in production, and that's Russia wants to use that pipeline to transfer gas into Europe. And why is it not in production? Because the European regulations say you are not allowed to have two functions, the producer and the distributor in this case, gas. And in this case, Kaspar holds the pipeline, Russia holds the pipeline, so they say you're not allowed. And if you look at Gazprom, they had their figures. There were some figures. They had the figures this week, and they made $7 billion profit over the last quarter. And if you compare it to the quarter in the previous year, that was a loss of 2.7 billion. And they delivered less gas. So that means something that about the price, of course, that everybody knows.
They're charging a bit more.
Yeah, and Gazprom say, okay, we are already changing the legal structure so that we can split it. But and Biden says, okay, to Germany on the back, that don't give them the license. But yeah, of course, we in Europe needs it more than the US.
Absolutely.
So that's all about. I think the discussion is all more about the price of gas. In this case, is an important one. So follow that, it's important. And you saw also the gas contracts for April 2022, and I did mention it before, went up 40% in the last week. So you see a lot of tension about the gas.
Market. Yeah. Be careful as an investor.
Well,
no, careful. I mean, careful is not the right word. Understand what it is when you are taking positions in that, because you have to really also not only know a lot about the gas price, but also know a lot about the market and the functionality of the futures, how these futures work.
That you mean the product itself,
contango, etc. Because it's pretty complicated.
And I want to close down with some thing. An IPO. I only saw it today.
Oh yeah.
That was in Brazil. And that was the bank New. I think you have to pronounce it in a Brazilian way, Portuguese way. New bank.
Yeah, New.
Yeah, New bank. It's an online bank. They exist since 2013, and they came on the U.S. stock market they raised $2.6 billion, and with that they are evaluated around $41 billion. And they say that Warren Buffett has a stake of 10% in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They say, and when they say it, it's.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this, didn't I? Or did I mention it?
In your sleep?
No, because they also have a big crypto platform.
I don't know. Possibly. There are 41 million users.
I didn't know that.
Different countries, mostly in the southern part of South America. And it came on the market for $9 and it went to 11, and then it closed yesterday at 10. So it's something that you can follow. It's a big one, and of course a growing market over there. Absolutely. So it's some company news. Yeah,
we're going to finish off in about 1 hour, I think. We have the inflation. Yeah, I don't know.
We are going for
1 hour. No, it's a little bit more, but at 2:30 on Friday afternoon we have the inflation figure. So when you're watching this, we know already the figure. But it's interesting to see what will be. There's an expectation of 0.7% by the economists, so 6.8% on an annual basis. That will definitely trigger the Fed next week to decide what they will do with the tapering. And also to mention, in the US, the initial jobless claims hit the lowest levels since 52 years. So the past half century, since 1969, there were not so little people asking for a paycheck from the government because they lost their jobs. The continuing jobless claims are rising slightly, so people are finding difficulties to get a new job, so as you're in the long-term unemployment. But still, if we look at January, we had 5.2 million people in the US in a long-term unemployment, and at the moment that is 2 million, so 3.24 people have found a job, so that's good news.
Interesting. What's next week?
Well, that's that. So I think the Fed will make
the Fed.
decisions on this, that will definitely push the market left or right.
Okay. Agree. Thank you for watching. Give us a thumb, subscribe,
Thank you.
Do everything. Thank you. See you next week.